Good afternoon, everyone. Lisa Ware, Senior Group Leader, here today to talk about energy, try and unravel some of the confusion that I know is out there. I get queries, obviously, from lots of different teams, but the biggest one always seems to be about energy. It just seems to cause so many queries. So I want to try and make this nice and simple for everybody. So first of all, I'm going to say to you that what we always need, and if you don't know this, please make notes, what we always need from somebody to give a really good comparison, not to give a guess, all right? Guessing is no good. You might as well not bother at all, in my personal opinion. I know some people do everything on estimates and guessing. I don't. I work on facts and figures. So what we need is them to locate their very latest statement, if possible. Now, you'll get people say, I don't get bills anymore. That's not true. We all get bills. It's just that, excuse me, they're all online now. All right. Sometimes they have it on an app on their phone. And all they need to do, and this is what you must tell them, is to get hold of the most recent bill, and it will always be in the area, no matter what the supplier, it will be in the area, generally speaking, under billing and statements. And then it's always download a PDF. All the different networks, I've seen the same, all right, all the suppliers, they all run the same system. It's usually under billing and statements. Now, some of them separate electric from gas. Some of them have them together. They all do it differently. But what you want them to get hold of is that PDF download that shows the recent statement. And then it's hunt for two figures. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm trying not to be sarcastic because sarcasm is the lowest form of wit, right? But in reality, I think most of the suppliers on purpose use the smallest font. 1 second. Sorry about that. You can't believe this, but that was Steve Critchley. You'd think after all these years he'd know this was coaching time. That's now going to be on the record. Right. I lost my train of thought. Right. So I believe they use the smallest font and they put it in a place that is hard to find. They really do. There is a caveat, and they are our competition, but you know, credit where it's due. If somebody's on British Gas, I always go, oh, wonderful. Because British Gas actually do what they're meant to do. And it's on the front page and it's always at the bottom and it's clearly there. So I'm going to share an example so you can all see what I'm on about. Right. I've done everything to try and make sure that we don't give away the people because of GDPR and data protection and all the rest of it. But this is the front page. If I go any higher, I'll be showing the name of the people. But they're really good because I want to scroll down and show all of you that on this front page, it is clear to see your gas tariff, your electricity tariff. There we are. Any exit fees in this one? No, not applicable. So it means it's a standard running tariff, right? So it's not a fixed rate. If there isn't an exit fee, there's generally not a fixed rate. Then they clearly do this estimated annual usage, the kilowatt consumption for the previous 12 months, and then estimated annual cost, which is the projection of applying British Gas rates to the past year's annual consumption. So if we look at this one here, in fact, let's do it on the electric because it's there on the electric. Let's because it's smaller figures. So the estimated annual usage is 2,607 kilowatts. Brilliant. What they do is they take that and they go times their kilowatt price and get a figure. And then they have to go times 5% VAT. All right. Then they get their 365 days at their price of daily standing charge. And hey presto, you've got a figure. Put it all together with the VAT for that as well, the whole price, and you get what is a combination of daily standing charges, cost, kilowatts for the year cost, all with the VAT, and that's the price. Now, I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to explain this because I know there's lots of confusion. And last night, I must have had an hour taken of my time desperately trying to help a partner and her other half understand all this. So a company, no matter what supplier, they can only work on what they've got. They don't have a wonderful crystal ball. They can't predict. I mean, wouldn't that be wonderful if we could all predict what we know we're going to use? We can't. So they have to work on what they've got, which is the past, apply the current prices, and then project the next 12 months. Now, wonderful. But it's not set in stone. Why? Because we're human and things happen in our lives. And what might have happened last year to affect our usage may not happen the next year. So to give you an example of myself, because it's really easy to, I'm going to go to my own bill with UW. Just bear with me while I find it. Can everybody see? Tell me when, give me a thumbs up when you can see a bill. Yeah, you can see it. Excellent. So look, guys, we all know what a bill looks like. This is May. There we are. Got it towards the end of the first week. 3 weeks, we know what's going to be coming out at the end. Now, let's go to the energy. So the budget plan that has been set is easy. Write this down. It is all the kilowatts. In my case, let's have a look. What is the estimated kilowatt usage for the year? 2,411 in the last 12 months. What they do is they apply the price, and the price is okay. So listen. Hang on, somebody's come in, and there's lots of right. Okay, they apply their price to all those kilowatts. Then the daily standing charge, put the two together, add it up, times 5% VAT. It's got to be there. That's for energy, 5%. And then you get a price. Now, the price here is clear. It's £869.74. Now, if you divide that by 12 months, you get what's called a budget plan payment. It doesn't matter about the seasonal fluctuation. So if you had a graph, guys, and the graph, this was January, this was December, the graph would probably look like that, especially for gas. Summer months, hardly use it. Winter months, use more than. That's most people's usage, unless you are a tight person. And I have witnessed this with some of my partners here, that they will sit with coats on. They will have the lights off in the dark because they don't want to put their electrical gas on. True, I'm not exaggerating. Don't they, Elaine?
Absolutely.
Now, whether or not it's because they come from Yorkshire, I don't know. But generally speaking, in the winter, we put that heating off, don't we? Yeah. Now, some of us are a bit of a chilly mortal. That's me. And even though we're May, I have been feeling a nip in the evenings. And I'm sorry, but I'd rather go without luxuries. I want good food in my tummy and I want a warm, clean home. That's me. So we've still been having the heating coming on for a couple of hours in the evening. Some people would say, that's ridiculous. Well, that's my choice. Yeah. And I pay the consequences in the bills. Fair enough. So think about budget plan. It's the cost of all the units divided by 12 months. And now you get an average cost. So although you use nothing in the summer and loads in the winter, it's the same. It enables you to budget. Isn't that interesting? What a clever idea. At the end of the 12-month cycle from when it started, a company will do a review. Now, I want everyone to understand this, and that is the obligation of a supplier is actually only to produce an annual review once every 2 years. That's ridiculous, isn't it? That's their obligation. Utility Warehouse do it every year. Most companies do. So now I want to explain something which is important. A lot of people don't realise that consumers have an obligation to actually look at their bills. And they don't. They don't look at them. I know they don't. And I don't blame them because I believe you need an ology to understand them. I've been in the industry 20 years and I really, really understand it now, inside out, back to front. But you know, I can see people look at these pages and let's go back to the British gas bill. Just bear with me while I find it. British Gas are very good. Their billing is good. It's all there. Okay. Now, it then gives you all the details. So we're talking about from and to. So this is saying from the 26th of April to the 2nd of August. That's a quarter, isn't it, basically? And what they're doing is they're giving all the it's the readings, and this is smart meters, so they are accurate. They're being sent back to the supplier. Please, folk, please, I'm going to stop the share and explain this one because I want to see your reaction. The little gadget that could be in the kitchen or wherever they choose to put it is not a smart meter. It's a monitor, a recorder. There is a big confusion here. Whether you had one or not, you can still have smart meters. The meters are the smart device attached to the wall, but attached to the grid and all the rest of it. Okay, that's really important to know. In fact, I will share with you that my parents happened to be the guinea pigs for Utility Warehouse. They were the first customers to have UW smart meters fitted. And Mum was given a monitor, and of course she duly plugged it in. But Dad got paranoid with this monitor, and every time she put her tumble dryer on to tumble dry her clothes, of course the monitor went round faster, didn't it? Because tumble dryers use the most electricity of any appliance other than a hot tub. She got very cross because Dad started having a go at her because she was using lots. And in the end, she took it and she threw it out with the rubbish and said, right, I am not having this. I want to use my electric how I use it. Just to share, that is not a smart meter, all right? Because there is confusion here. Let's go back to this bill. Okay, so it's all on the bill. It all explains it. And it is all actually quite simple maths, although I know for most people, it looks confusing. But in fact, the figures do add up. Now, what they do is they then, because this is over, actually, it's over a period of 6 months, look. What they're doing is saying, look, here's the budget amount coming in, which amounts to 140058 credit, all right? And then one from the other, actually, there's still £900 in credit. Wow. Another thing to explain to you. A gas meter point reference number. is that. And that is an MPRN. That is to do with gas. But don't confuse it with a meter serial number, which is an actual number on a meter. They're two different things. And in the database, there are two databases, national databases, and a meter serial number that is logged to the database needs to marry up with what the supplier produces, which is a gas meter point reference number. And likewise, the same for electricity. Guys, this is called, it's called a supply number, an MPAN, a meter. It's another number, which is different to a meter serial number. Now, what is useful for you all to know is 01 in this top left-hand box denotes that it's what we call a standard general domestic electric meter, one rate all the time, day and night. If it said 02, that would mean economy 7, 2 rates. And it could still be 02, and it could be something unusual called an economy 10, which is what Southern Electric produced. They called it Super Deal, and it was for those people that had night storage heating, and the big heaters attached to the wall with blocks of concrete in would heat up at night when it was a much cheaper rate, and then release the heat in the day. And they used them a lot in flats because it's easier and more safe to have electric in flats than gas. So look, that's a really good bill. Now I'm going to show you something else. This is an Eon bill. Okay. It's pretty good. We've got information. We've got an estimated annual usage. That's what we want to see, isn't it? So I'm trying to do my very, very best not to give away details of a person. Here we go. Now, we've got the other figures. Estimated annual cost there for electric and for gas. So this is a good bill. It's got all the bits. There's the electric. Let's go down now. Have we got, oh, that's just an electric. We haven't got the gas there. All right. So, but you've got, well, that's interesting. We should have a gas on there, but it's not there for some reason. That's an interesting scenario. But we did have a gas thing there. Now, I want to move on to OVO. Guys, this is an OVO bill. And it's interesting. In fact, over the last 2 years, 3 years, I've noticed that OVO have not been producing what I call compliant figures, estimated annual usage and personal projection. They're not there. They've got rates. And when we put into our join the club ordering system, the quotation system, we want the annual kilowatt consumption to put in, which then brings up our annual price and then the monthly price to do a comparison. Well, you can't do it, can you, if you haven't got this? And that's why last month, OVO were fined 8.9 million for misbilling. Very, very naughty. You just can't do anything with it. Very difficult. Right, let's show you another one now. Octopus. Oops, there we go. Octopus. So do we have the figures we want? Now, this is electricity. Look at that, folks. It's got a 2, which means economy 7. And you can clearly see that we've got 2 rates. We have a day rate and we've got a night rate. So the day rate is from 04:30 in the morning to just past midnight, 30 minutes past midnight, and then the night rate is past midnight to 04:30. Now that means they've chosen to make the night time very short, haven't they? Because we say with our economy 7 that night is midnight to 7 in the morning. Isn't that fascinating? So you could deduce that the cheaper rate at night, they're not giving many hours, are they? Just 4. Isn't that fascinating? I tell you what, it's a clever old industry, this. Now we're looking for those annual kilowatts. Oh, look at this. Loads of reams and reams and reams and reams of stuff, but not what we want. Not a sausage of an annual kilowatt. The consumption and the annual price, no, it's not there. Isn't that interesting? How do we do a comparison? Very difficult. Now let's have a look at another octopus one. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, now that's good news. Hang on, try not to show. There we are. So this is quite old, this one. If you look, it goes back to 21. This had the estimated annual cost. Brilliant. Let's see if we can find the consumption. Let's have a look. Oh, excellent. There it is. There it is for the electric. And there it is for the gas. We can do a great comparison, a like for like. Guys, head office don't want us messing around, fiddling about, doing figures. I'm going to stop the share. They don't want us doing it because it's complex. And then if we get it wrong, do you know what? That's not good, is it? It's not good at all. So now I'm going to pose a question because time's going on. You meet someone and they say to you, I've only just moved in. I've got no bills. I'm with anyone, OVO, whatever, Scottish Power. Well, I tell you what I do. I say to them, right, we've got to get hold of them because no matter what, they are required to produce an estimated forecast of what it will cost you by law. They have to do it. So it's hard and you may not be able to do it there and then, but they've got to get hold of them. Now, British Gas, you can't speak to anyone. All right, they've ended customer services. They have this stuff called online chat, which actually that doesn't work. So it comes down to emailing. Isn't this fascinating? Why am I telling you all this? Because we have a UK-based customer services centre. We have people you can talk to. You have us. It's not all about money. If you're selling this just on money, you're missing a trick. You really are. All right, it's not just about money. Bear that in mind. Because if you can be at the end, like I am, of so many people that are tearing their hair out, trying to sort things out, and they want to leave just to get away from it all. So bear that one in mind. Now, they haven't got anything. And they're saying, I can't get in touch. It used to be simple. You could go onto that supplier's website and you could do a quote, but many of them have even stopped their quoting because it actually says that it might be cheaper to stay where you are. Can you believe that a supplier actually would print that? But it's there, lots of them. You go on the sites, try it out for yourself. So now what do? Well, they might have something, and they've got to have something. They've got to have some prices, okay? They've got to have a per kilowatt price. They've got to have a daily standing charge. So please write this down because this is the next best thing you can do, and it's compliant. I only do things that are compliant. So if we take the average house, medium, that's generally it's 2 to 3 bedrooms. It's 2 adults and generally about 2 kids. You've seen it on the order. Sadly, I know what the average national figures are. They are 2,900 for electric and they're 12,000 for gas. That makes me a very sad green person, but it's just the number of years I've been doing it that I know it. Okay. So this is what you can do. You can together, and it'd be great if you're on Zoom or if you're face to face, you can do the calculation. So you can take the kilowatt rate and you times it by 2,900 kilowatts. And then you simply go 365 days times the daily standing charge. Add those two sums together, times it by 5% VAT, and you've now got an average of the cost of that supplier, which means you can then do a comparison on our JTC going on our average. You haven't got to know any of our figures. That is a like for like based on averages, but it means they can see the difference in price from before and what it'll be now. What we must never do is guess how many kilowatts somebody's using, because we can't. You just can't. You know, we're quite frugal here. We've got all LED light bulbs, and I'm a bit of a stickler. Switch the lights off. My lovely man to be, right? He it's taken him a while to get used to doing that. In fact, when I first met him, I would go to his place and he'd have the curtain shut in broad daylight and every light was going continuously. Now, you know, it was a smaller property, but actually it would be more expensive because he's using more. Do you see what I'm getting at? You could get the same property like ours and you could have a few children in here. Xboxes going all the time, computers on, everything switched on. You're going to use more. And you could have a 4-bedroom property and there could be one person living on their own and they're hardly there. They work most of the time away and then they come home. So you see, you can't guess consumption and we must never do that. So guys, if you want to unmute, if you've got some questions, what I've done is I've unravelled, I hope, the complexities about gas and electricity. Can I just ask, because I know Denny's there and she's writing notes. Denny, have you understood that a little bit more?
Yes, yeah, definitely. There was part of the bill that I wasn't aware of with noticing where they're 01 or 02 to identify whether they are on a standard or economy 7. So that's really helpful there.
And on the economy 7, the O2, if you have 3 rates, all right, that can still come over to Utility Warehouse on our economy 7. And the afternoon, what they call the boost rate on this economy 10, and the night rate is put together. So actually they gain even more. If you meet someone on economy 10, say happy days, because they save loads and loads with us. All right.
Yeah.
Elaine, you're fairly new. Elaine, did that help a little bit more for you?
Yeah, it's just good to hear it and to see different examples of different bills, so you know exactly where you're looking. And they're all slightly different, aren't they? But it's just good to see different range of bills, really.
And can I just say this? You're going to get some people that will say to you, oh, well, I know what I'm paying each month. I don't need a bill. Oh, please, that is not the way we do this, because that could be set wrongly. Now, when the budget plan is set, it's set based on past consumption for the future. And if they have then changed their modus operandi, say, it could be really out of sync. Now, for example, after we're back from our honeymoon and everything, we're going to have an extension built and started at last. I am already anticipating far more usage of electric because there's going to be builders and plumbers and they're all going to be charging in. Now, I could say, oh, I'm not going to worry, not even going to think about that. But when it comes to the end of the year, that's not going to be very clever, is it? Because what has been set is actually not realistic for what I'm now going to be doing. And that's where I think it's a great thing to provide some education for people to understand that they do have an obligation to actually keep a supplier up to date. Yeah. Now, the alternative to budget plan, folks, is still direct debit, but it's called monthly in arrears. And if you've got somebody, I'll give you an example, and I've got a few customers that spend possibly 6 months of the year in their holiday home abroad and then 6 months here. Now, these are people that budget plan is not good for. And I'm giving you exaggerated examples on purpose because the reality is for 6 months, they're not here. It's better they go on direct debit, monthly in arrears. And what happens, as long as they give a reading at the end of the month, they pay exactly for what they've used the previous month. So if they're not there, that's great. They're not using it. They're not. That is so much better for them. Okay. And I've got quite a few customers choose that because they don't wish to get into debt. So look, guys, it's gone awfully fast. I'm so sorry. It always does. Hopefully that's helped a bit. And what I am going to raise hand. Emma, did you want to ask a question?
It's Ian.
Emma? Oh, sorry. No, Emma's she's black, but she's got. Oh no, it's Denny. Sorry, Denny raised her hand. Okay.
Just a quick question, if that's okay. There's a lot of
answer Ian's.
Yeah, of course. Sorry.
Ian, your question?
Well, it's more. I was having problems with British Gas with one of my customers to get a meter, you know, their annual bill, their annual usage. And someone in one of the previous videos or Zoom calls talked about using mysupermarket.com or supermarket.com. Plug in the address there and it comes up with the 12 months previous usage.
Yes and no. I know people do, but I feel it's possibly a bit vague. It's much better. You know, the most important thing that any supplier wants, if you want to get an up-to-date usage, is they would love straight away to get up-to-date readings there and then. And I tell everyone, take a photograph of the meter. It's actual proof of what it is. Yeah. Denny, your question?
Yes. So I'm coming across a lot of new homeowners that have moved from parents' property into their own property now and having their first mortgage, and it's coming down to doing the estimate for them on their energy. We can't do an estimate, of course, because we're going based by their family usage. What would your advice be for doing a quote for them there?
Right. Earlier on in this coaching, I said to you, in fact, that's a really good example. They need to get hold of the current supplier and request what the price is per kilowatt and the daily standing charge, and then ask that company, please, can you give us a projection forecast of what you would charge us? Because they haven't got usage. It will generally be based on the size of the home, small, medium or large. That's what they'll do. They'll base it on average figures. So if it were a home, for example, that was only 1 or 2 bedrooms with just 2 adults or 1 adult, that'll be a small user, a low user. And there are figures for that. And then if you've got the prices, that can be worked out. And then you've got on the JTC, you can go in and do the same. You're basically doing the same on a national average based on their property.
So you would still do that even though if say the couple have been living with their parents and they're now moving in their own property together, how do they take 2 separate usages from 2 different homes? They used to live with their parents and now moving into their own.
No, they've got to base it on where they're going to be. The place.
Right, makes sense.
Nothing to do with the past, where they lived before, based on the number of bedrooms in the property and the number of occupants.
Perfect. Thank you.
Guys, I better go because we're over time. I will see you all again next week. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lisa. Bye.
Thank you.